Welcome back to another episode of RAWTALK. Quick interruption for one of our sponsors, Prize Picks. If you guys bet, if you make bets, it's the place to do it at. Use promo code Brad when you fucking put a bet in. If you're first time doing it, then whatever you put in up to $100, you get, they match that. So if you put in $50, they give you $50. You put in $100, they give you $100 on your first bet with promo code Brad. Check them out. UFC fights, football, everything, sports betting, everything. It's amazing. Honestly, like if I'm like really wanting to get into an event, put a little bit here, a little bit there. It makes it a little more exciting. But remember, only gamble with what you're comfortable with losing. That's very, very important. Don't forget that, because it's like the chances are you could lose it, but there's also chances that you could win big, which is the goal with Prize Picks. Promo code Brad. Check them out. That's it. Don't lose all your money. Let's get back into this podcast. Yo, come get you right now. Crisilia, baby. Oh, there it is. Oh, the door is open.
Who knows if this is not your place and I don't want your shot.
What's up, bro?
Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you, man.
What?
How are you?
For coming.
Good, yeah.
Let's do it. How long have you been here?
About 2 years.
You like it out here?
It's fucking amazing.
It's nice to be out of there. How long have you been doing this podcast now?
So, I've been doing the podcast for like 4 years, but not consistent.
Got it.
This is a new rendition of it. When I first started, it was like me and a few of my boys. And then, people get busy, do other things, and focus on other stuff. And then I was like, okay, I kind of paused on it, didn't do it as much, came back.
Did it again. It was a different name. It was called Culture Cast. And then I stopped that for a while and then came back and was like, okay, I wanted to take this for real because I love this kind of content so much. I just like learning about people.
Interesting.
So that's kind of where it started. And then I was like, okay, I want to do this full force because, at the same time for me, going through years and years of making content, I've been doing social media forever from like the beginning of fucking Instagram and doing this YouTube shit. You get to a point where I'm like, okay, I don't want to keep making the same kind of content forever. It's like, slapstick type vlog shit on YouTube where it's like, it gets old. So then I was like, I like this because it's you could always do this.
Yeah. I know shit changes. It's like the stuff that's hot on social media then changes to a whole nother platform and shit. And so you got to figure out how to do it there, and then to figure out how to do it on the next one. Like there was Vine, and then fucking Instagram, and then now it's TikTok, and so it's like
you did Vine shit, huh?
I did. Yeah, I was actually
That's where you blew up.
Yeah, kind of. That's what I was literally just talking about this. I think it was last night. I kind of blew. So 3 things happened. I was on a show on NBC, and my special came out. My first special came out, and Vine was like I had gotten like I was like one of the first guys to get like 1 million followers on Vine. It was like back when people didn't really even have 1 million followers on anything, Now people got like fucking 30 million followers and shit. But like and I remember starting, this is what I was telling, I can't remember who the fuck I was saying this to, but like I was telling them that I think we were talking about King Batch, because he's doing stand up.
Right.
And
he's doing stand up.
Well, he had always kind of been doing it, but then he kind of popped off doing other shit. So I think he stopped. Okay. And so now he's really been doing a lot of stand up lately, which is great. So I was talking to him about this months ago, but I was like, you should like slowly educate people with your following that you're also a stand up comedian, because this is when I would do. Like people knew, like it was all different things. People knew me from the show, and then my special, and then a whole different group of people knew me from Vine. So I would always like try to make sure on Vine that people knew that I was a stand-up comedian too, because like I'd be hell if I knew I was from. I didn't want to be known for like 6-second videos. Like that was my thing. I was like, I've worked so hard doing stand-up for years that like I was like, this is what I wanted to be known for. So like I did blow up on Vine, but I always tried to like do Vines where I would like either be on stage or something like that because I wanted to like educate people that didn't know. Because people would be like, "Oh, that's the guy from Vine. He's doing stand up," and I'm like, "I've been doing stand up for years, you know."
Yeah, there tends to be that process. People learning about like what you're doing from this, and then because I've done content with like the Nelk Boys, for example, and like. You know, I play this kind of character where it's like they, you know, pretty much they're punching bag for a lot of jokes.
Right.
And then other people see like, wait, I've seen this guy doing fitness stuff for 100 years.
Yeah.
But it's I mean, it's a part of the process. But this for sure, the podcast stuff is hands down the thing I enjoy the most.
That's cool.
And I think it's like it has the most longevity with it because for me, it's just about learning about people and trying to understand where people came from. So by the way, welcome back. I know we got right into that really quickly. Another episode of Raw Talk. I got the great Chris D'Elia with me.
Thank you.
I actually met you years ago. Outside of I think it was the Comedy Store.
Okay.
Super briefly, I was with my buddy Brock. You
know Brock, you were okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Years ago.
I remember that.
Like super years ago. I was a fan. I'm a fan.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so I was like, I came to see it and watched it, and then we met you after.
Yes, I totally remember that. I made fun of Brock online years ago. I didn't even make fun of him. He took a picture in front of these stationary bikes, and I made some silly, stupid meme about how he had too many stationary bikes. He was obviously at the gym. He's obviously at the gym, and I was just making fun of him. And then he reached out to me, and he was like, "Bro, I love your shit." And I was like, "Oh, dude, thanks for being such a good sport." And then I just always knew him as, you know, his online stuff. And then I ran into him. I can't remember if I invited him to that show or not, but I would run into him at the gym.
Yeah. I run into everyone at the gym.
I know. And then we ran into each other at the gym.
Yeah.
Outside. But okay, so you were at that show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a long time ago.
I remember there were a bunch of fucking big dudes together. And and you were one of them. Okay.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Man, that was a while ago though.
Years ago.
Yeah.
So you started what, in acting or comedy? What was first?
I guess technically I started as an actor, but the goal was always to do stand-up. I always wanted to do stand-up, and I thought it was just I was too scared to do it.
How do you know you want to do stand-up?
I don't know. I always just wanted to do it. I always thought it was the coolest job. I always liked making people laugh. My parents are both hilarious in different ways, and my mom and my dad they're just always fucking with me, and like in a funny way.
Since you were a kid.
Yeah, it was just always doing jokes. My whole family's crazy, like, and so my dad very early on showed me like George Carlin, Richard Pryor, and Dom Herrera, and just, you know, all comedians, and I loved watching it as a kid, and I always thought it was cool that like a guy could go on stage with literally nothing.
Yeah,
like you don't need a guitar, you don't need anything.
Yes.
And just talk and keep people entertained. I was like, that's what I want to do. Maybe it was fucking egotistical or what, but like, I just always was the class clown. And it wasn't like, how do you know you wanted to do stand-up?
Right.
It wasn't like I figured it out. It was just always what I was going to do. It wasn't.
Yeah, but it's so weird though.
It is weird, but I don't have a thought of, oh, that's what I want to do. It was just always kind of, I don't know if I believe in destiny, but it's just always kind of what I was going to do.
Yeah. So like when you do comedy stuff, you write bits and then you like practice it, or is it just like, because I know people have different processes with it.
I think it's good to do a mix of all of the stuff. I think it's good to sit and write, and I think it's good to go on stage and work stuff out that you have from your head. But for me, I don't write. I just go on stage and.
Well, you don't write anything?
Nah, I really don't, man.
Holy fuck!
And I know how it sounds like. I don't know if it sounds like. Because sometimes people are like, "Well, how do you flesh a bit out then?" And I just kind of do it on stage. I think I'm better like under pressure. Like that's what I've always like, making my friends laugh. Like I like doing that, and because it's spur of the moment. So I'll go up with like an idea, you know, and maybe I'll be like, I think that's funny, and so what I'll do is I'll think of a joke or a part that I know people are going to laugh at. I'm pretty sure people are going to laugh at.
Something relatable.
Yes, and then I'll do like, I'll see like how long I can talk about it until I get to that point. And if I'm bombing this joke, I'll just get to that point, and then at least I get that laugh, and then I'm done with that. And I know it either doesn't work or there's parts of it that work, and then right after that I'll be like, oh, I want to go on again. I'll either go on later on that night or the next day. But that's how I do it. I started writing in the beginning, and it's just, dude, I think it's just, I don't know if it's laziness or what, but like, it's so not fun for me to do that.
Yeah.
You know? And like, I have bits, the last bit that I wrote, had written out was this bit that I did on the special Man on Fire. And it was a bit from years before that. And I always hated the bit. I liked the bit, but I hated that I wrote it out. And so I dropped it, and then it fit in what I was talking about in years later in this special Man on Fire. And I was like, oh, I can just use this bit in that. And that's the last bit that I actually like physically wrote out. It's not fun for me. I like the pressure on stage.
Are there any like moments, because I've filmed videos in the past where like I'll talk about something like really from my heart. I'm like, and I'll be done and I'll be like, damn, like where did that come from? Are there any moments where you have comedy where you're like, where did that come from? Like where you almost like you say it and then like you'll think about what you said and you're like, damn, that shit was funny. Like kind of in your head and you're like, it just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean that's mostly what a lot of it is. I get a lot of the stuff from crowd work too. I would go up and I would do stand up and just talk to people, and then I would be like, oh, I could turn this into a bit. But yeah, I mean, you talk about from the heart. The first two specials,
like almost like when you're done with it, you're like, where did that come from? Almost like, how did you create it?
Yeah, and a lot of the times I'll do something on stage and I'll be like, fuck, I wish I was recording that. I literally don't know. Like it'll be something that I've always thought about but never actually articulated, you know? Yeah. And then I'll do it on stage and I'm like, fuck, I should have recorded that. And so I'll run off stage and go in the green room or wherever, and I'm like, I'll write it down and I'll be like, oh, this is what I said. These are the beats I said. And I'm like, I won't know for a whole nother day till I go on stage if I can do it again. Because a lot of times as a comedian, comedians will tell you, like, you'll do a bit, it'll kill, and then the next time you do that bit, it bombs. It's like fucking clockwork, man. It's because you're excited about it and it's new, and then it works, and you're like, oh, this might work. And then you have that energy of like, ooh, I hope this works again, and you'll bomb it. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever had really terrible moments like doing stand-up? Like where you're like, fuck, I'm so bad right now?
Oh, yeah. I had
like people are like, get the fuck off the stage.
Yeah. I had my first bomb, like hard bomb, was I was doing stand-up for about 6 months. I mean, I had bombed before this, but this was like fucking horrible. There's something called a bringer show, which I didn't really know what it was. You wouldn't know what it is until you do stand-up, but they make everybody who's on the show has to like invite their friends to come see the show. So there's an audience, right? Okay. So if there's 6 comics on, they say bring 10 people.
Bring your
so
friends.
There's 60 people in the audience, right? You can't go on if you don't bring the fucking people.
Okay.
They asked me to do this show like late notice, and I was like, okay.
You said this is 6 months into your career.
Yes.
Okay.
I go on stage. I didn't know it was a bringer show, and they wanted, because I didn't so what they'll do is it's the guy who brings the most people, they'll make him go last because they don't want the people that he brought to leave after him.
Oh,
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So it's like this whole fucking
shit.
Like it's like this shady show that they put on. I don't know anything about this. I've only been doing this for 6 months. So I didn't bring anybody because they asked me last minute.
They put you first or what?
No, they put me last, which means they put me right after the guy who brought everybody.
Oh no!
Yes. So no. So I didn't know. I didn't understand what was happening. But this guy goes up, and he's killing because everybody knows him in the audience.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, this audience is so easy. If they like him, they're gonna fucking love me because he's not good, and I think I'm funny. And so he went on, and then I went on. And it was just like silence. I mean, it was like this. It was like there was just no laughter. I was doing the jokes that had been working somewhat for 6 months.
They were just sitting there staring at you.
Yes. And a few minutes in, I just sat on the stool, which I had never done before. I'd always stood up. And I literally said, I don't really know what's going on. I swear I'm funny. I said that. Yeah. And then I said, I guess this is just not my night. And then I kept trying to do more bits and bombed. I got off stage and I was like, I was like shell shocked. I was like, I don't know what happened. And then that was when they told me this guy brought everybody. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I was like, that means I'm not bad. Like, this is just something that happened. Bro, I was so new.
Yeah.
And they were like, nah, it's okay. Like, I was like, okay. But I'll never forget that.
When did you start to really pick up traction in your career? Like in comedy?
Like, I think that you need like you say, like there's all sorts of stuff that you do, but like I think you need like I always say to people, like especially like young comics, like you need 3 things to make yourself just in people's faces to where they're going to realize who you are. And like if you were just a workout guy, you wouldn't be where you are, you know? If you were just a podcast guy, you wouldn't be where you are. You have your workout shit, you have your content on YouTube, you have this, you know, and like I had my show on NBC, I had my stand-up, and I had Vine. And like when those things were all working together was when I started filling up like a theater, you know? Like I went from comedy clubs to theaters. And it was early on, but because I was pretty good with the social media shit. I realized the power of it, and this was when comedians were like, well, we don't do that shit, we're real comics. And it's like, all right, well, this is the way shit's going. You know, I get the real comedy thing, but like be a real comic and also do this shit, you know, do Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of common. That's a common thing. Like I know, like specifically we're talking about the bodybuilding industry. I remember when it first started coming, it's like, you know, obviously bodybuilders are like, oh, this other shit's lame. Yeah, you know? But that's you kind of got to get with the times. Yeah, you know. So I'm curious, like throughout your process of becoming a comic, do you think that to be a great comic, like you have to go through like fucked up shit in your life? Because I know a lot of people who've said like they have like kind of went through dark shit to be able to like have some sort of like good comedy. Yeah,
I mean. No, I don't think you need to. The bottom line is I don't think you need to. I think that a lot of people, that's their escape. It was never really my escape. I was just kind of like I talk about on stage, you know, on stage in one of my specials. I had a great childhood. I always thought it was weird that like people always say comedy comes from pain. You know, it comes from maybe like insecurity, but like to say pain is such a hard word.
Yeah.
I never looked at it as something that I never looked at comedy as an escape, you know? And I know a lot of people do. And I always found that interesting because like it's not what I was, but that it's not how I felt, but a lot of people say that. So you know, I feel like that's a good thing, you know, it's an outlet for people to escape their problems because, you know, look, we've all been through shit in life, and like my shit is when I want to just like check out, I watch like, you know, some stupid movie, and that's the same thing as somebody watching fucking Jerry Seinfeld or whatever the fuck they want to watch, you know, comedy. I just don't watch comedy, you know.
You don't watch comedy?
No, never. No.
Like ever?
Ever, never.
Holy
no.
shit.
Yeah, I don't. I just I don't know why. I don't. It's not like I'm hating on it. It's just like I don't know. I'd rather watch like some stupid action movie, or like, to me that's funny anyway, you know. It's like
there's a lot of comedy
guy
in that
kick
kind of
ass,
shit.
you know. It's like it's hilarious. So like, you know, maybe in that way I am watching a comedy in my head, but like I don't watch comedy, man. I don't watch people's specials. I don't watch, you know, I might watch a minute of it to see how it's produced.
Yeah.
But like, I don't.
Did that happen because when you started having to be in it and create it, you're kind of like stepping away from it in that sense? Because I don't like to watch a ton of content anyways. I just try and make it.
Yeah.
Also because timing wise, I just don't have a ton of time.
Right. I think that, man, I've seen, well, when it comes to stand up, like I've seen versions of whatever people are doing before, you know, and like it's not like, oh, I know that joke that this guy's telling now, but like, you know, this, you can see how they make the sauce, you know, so it's like, but yeah, I just I don't know. I think it's just because I'm in that world. I'd rather do something else. Like I like, if I'm going to sit down and watch TV, I'm going to watch a thriller or like, you know.
Where do you think your comedy comes from then? Like your style, because you have a very unique style.
Yeah.
Like delivery and all that shit.
I think that like,
which by the way, everyone was like, I had Brian on the show, and everyone was like, he copied your style on the pod. They were like, what is he fucking hanging out with Chris D'Elia too much?
That's hilarious. We're just friends, so that's why like people said like, yeah, but people by the way love to do that shit. Oh, he got that from this. He got this. It's just like, dude, it's such a small community. It's like,
yeah, it's very small.
It's like how many like there's fucking 900 guys who have a bit about the airport. It's like they're not all stealing from each other, dude.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, it's just. What'd you ask me?
Where does your comedy come from?
Yeah,
like the style. Because like when you're normal, it's completely normal. I can see a little bit of it in it.
I thought that when I started doing podcast, my podcast is very silly. It's obvious, so congratulations, and it's just me bullshitting. But like, I always was like, oh, I got to be silly. This is why people like me, and I realized that I don't have to be like that. Like, this is not the medium to just go out and like, I'm not gonna come on here and do fucking jokes. Like, I'd rather just bullshit with you and get to know you. I guess people find that refreshing. It's such a weird thing, dude, because like, I don't give a fuck about that kind of stuff. Like, the last thing I want to see is like Hugh Jackman and what he does in his daytime. Like, I don't give a fuck. I want him to be Wolverine. But like, and like, if the thought of Hugh Jackman being on Dax Shepard's podcast is not something I would ever fucking listen to. I don't give a fuck.
You want to see Wolverine?
I don't care. That's for me.
Okay.
And I would talk to my fiance. I'm like, why do people like this shit? Like, I did Dax Shepard's podcast, and I got home, and she was like, how'd it go? And I'm like, man, I was boring. And she was like, oh. And then afterwards, I got so much love from it. And I'm like, I'm not even doing jokes, dude. Like, I'm just being my boring self.
Yeah.
And she was like, you don't get it. People like that because they relate to you. You're not like a cartoon of a person. You're like, you're a real person. And it's such a weird thing. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 42. Like, to think of like the people, the TV stars doing that shit in the 90s, like, they would never do that. Never. You know what I mean?
Ever.
Like, there's even still guys like that, like Leonardo DiCaprio. You don't know what he's really like.
Zero, yeah.
I mean, obviously he's the fucking biggest movie star ever, but like you don't know who these people are like. And now, like, they're doing podcasts and shit.
Yeah.
And to me, I still am of the old school mentality, and I battle it a little bit. I'm like, I don't want to fucking do that shit. But I think part of it is like, I'm scared and I'm insecure that people won't fucking like me for any other reason than just me being funny. Yeah. And that's horseshit.
It's not true at all.
Yeah, it's not true.
No.
But it took me, and it takes me, and it's continually something that I struggle with. Like, I'm on stage now and I talk about, like, I don't want to get into it obviously, but I've had a rough few years, and like, I talk about stuff now and how I've felt and how I've had, like, I talk about my son and how I want to be a good dad and how I want him to make the same mistakes as I do. And like, it's hard to do that because this is from a guy who would talk about how only silly things on his first two specials, and I only wanted to talk about silly things because this is what I thought was funny. And you talk about where my comedy comes from, and in the beginning it was by design. I only wanted to talk about the shit that fucking you would talk about at a party and making fun of shit, and being silly,
get a reaction.
I didn't want to fucking talk about the stuff that I went through or the stuff that is going on in the world, because to me, I just wanted to have a fucking good time and make people laugh. And now I'm 42 and I don't want to do that anymore. I want to talk about where I am in my life, and I want to talk about what it's like to be somebody who's been through going through shit, because that's what I want to, and I kind of get it now,
Yeah. Well, that's what really matters, man. I mean, like, my whole purpose of this podcast in general is to talk to people who I think have done amazing things and trying to figure out like how they got there, how they work through the moments, like, because truthfully, like you say, of course, someone's going to get engaged with you and be like, man, I love this comedy, I love this style, I love this guy's personality, all the jokes, this shit's funny. Yeah. But it's getting to a different point, like in society with all these different platforms, specifically social media and like podcasting in general, is like, people want to know more about you, about like the person. So that's why like this is so enjoyable to me, because my whole goal with this specific podcast is just to get to know you and like your process and how you got to where you are. Because the person who, like, there might be tons of kids who are like, I love this guy's comedy, I love what he does, I want to live a life like his, like, because now you see everyone's like highlight reel of their life, whatever they do on social media. And how you actually get there is by not necessarily the act of comedy, but like what makes this person tick, what makes this person happy, what makes this person sad, because that's who you really are.
Yeah.
And for you to create comedy is based on all those things, right? So now you're saying you get to a point in your life where you're like, you said 43?
42, yeah.
42, and it's like now it's kind of changing, and you could still find comedy and create comedy out of all those things that is still relatable to everyone.
Yeah.
Make ship happen. Shout out to one of our sponsors, ShipStation. Listen, I have personal experience with ShipStation. I've actually used it for years for being Fit Gear, which you guys now know as Raw Gear, but I used them for years. Super efficient, super simple, super easy to use. Give them a shot. You guys can get 2 months, basically free shipping. And this is not for like shipping stuff to your buddies or like gifts to your friends. This is for like people who are doing e-commerce business. Essentially, that's what I did. That's what I said. That's my bread and butter. Great platform, great service, good rates. Check them out, ShipStation. Use promo code RAWTALK when you check out. Tell them I fucking sent you. Can we swear in these ads? We just did. Fuck it. We're doing it anyways. You get a free 60-day trial, though, straight up, if you guys have not used it before with promo code RAWTALK. 2 months for free.
Make ship happen. Make ship happen.
Make ship happen.
Honestly. Why not?
Like, but it's like,
let's
just
ship it and make it happen.
Go to ShipStation.com.
Facts.
Straight up.
Yeah.
They did thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of orders. Great fucking service. Efficient as fuck. Give them a shot. ShipStation.com. Use promo code RAWTALK. Let's get back in this podcast.
Like doing that was all by design for me. Like I literally like, I want to talk about this silly shit as long as I can, because eventually I'm gonna have to grow up and have kids, whatever. I didn't know I wanted kids till I had Calvin, but I didn't know. I didn't want to do that, or I wanted to do that until I couldn't anymore, because I didn't want to be this fucking 55-year-old comic that's talking about fucking dicks and like just farting and shit. And now I'm not. I'm doing other shit, and it's good because you want your audience to also grow with you. Like I mean, like my demo was like fucking 18 to 40, and they get older, dude.
Yes.
And like it's like last guy I want to be is the guy on fucking, I don't want to be a 60-year-old comedian talk about the new fucking app that came out. It's like,
yeah, it's because it's also kind of becomes not disgenuine, but like it's not on your timeline,
and it's not on your timeline. Yeah.
So I mean, it makes sense. But so you've obviously gone through shit, you go through a bunch of shit. Do you use that as inspiration for your comedy now, like you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people, there are people that go through shit and either don't talk about it, and then there are people who use it to kind of become a better version of themselves artistically and also just as a human. And I'd rather do that, because the opposite is death, I feel like, I mean, I see comedians that are older and not even just comedians, just guys who don't understand who they are, and they're not even trying to figure out who they are, and they just kind of fall to the wayside. And I don't even mean...
And when you say not trying to figure out, you mean just through like avoidance of things? Or?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And I don't even mean like artistically or in the business. Like, the business to me, making it and getting more and being bigger and being more famous or whatever the fuck you want to say was always my goal, until I realized it wasn't. And it's just, I want to be, first and foremost, I want to be Calvin's dad. I want to be a good to my friends, and that's what's most important. And if I lead with that, then the art comes second, but also I think it's better because like I'm being a person first. Yeah. Which is why now I talk about more about myself, and I'm not necessarily doing, the silly shit anymore. But that was all it was all a plan. Everything that has happened to me in my whole life obviously wasn't planned, but I always tried to plan it out. I wanted to be this fucking cool comedian that was talking about, guys and girls and fucking, you know, this guy came up to me and did this, and I was like, I said this, but now I don't want to do that anymore, you know.
Yeah.
And if people don't like it, like it's okay because I have everything that anyone could ever want, which is like a family and like, you know, I have people that love me. Yeah. But I didn't even think about that, man, in the beginning. Like, it was all about my career. I remember when I first got with Kristen, my fiance, I was like, you got to understand my career is more important than anything.
Number one. Yeah.
And she was like, you know, I understand that. And I was like, that's my dream girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
did you have relationships prior to that where it was like not working?
Yeah, it was always button heads, and I get it. Like, you know, it's like your business. It can be the most important thing, but not if you're trying to build a relationship and build a family and stuff. So, So I talked to. So now, you know, I say, dude, I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and I was watching this show of stand-up comedians. It was like a showcase show. Comedians would come on and they'd interview the comedian before their set, and they interviewed Dennis Miller before he did his set, and they were interviewing Dennis Miller, and they were like, so comedy is so important to you, right? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, what else is important to you? And they said, my family, my kids. And they said, well, what's more important? And he said, well, I love comedy, but I mean, if it comes down to my family, I wouldn't do comedy for another day in my life. I'd quit right now. And I remember thinking, like, wow, what a bitch. Like, whoa. Yeah, like, what? He's not a real comedian.
Whoa,
like, as a 16-year-old, yeah.
Oh,
I was like, that's me. I was like, fuck that. And now I'm like,
oh, I get that.
Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, that's a 16-year-old talking, and like.
Yeah.
But if you asked me at 30, I probably would have said the same thing. But now, I mean, there's no question, man. There's no question. It just.
You think the kid changed everything?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, I can't even talk about him without fucking crying. I mean, he's just like. He's just the best thing that. He's the best. You're not dad, right? Yeah.
No.
It's just.
I want to be though.
Do you? Good. Yeah. It's. I never thought. I didn't know if I want to be a dad or not, you know?
I didn't know until about a few years ago.
Yeah.
It took me time.
I didn't know if I want to be a dad or not because I was a selfish dude, and I got with my girl now, and I was like, she just obviously would be such a good mom. She wanted kids, and I was like, she kind of turned me around, and I was like, yeah, you know. So we did it. We had a kid, and
I'm getting crazy deja vu right now.
Really?
Sorry, yeah, I just had to say that. It was really weird.
Like you had been interviewing
100%
somebody.
we've done this exactly.
Oh, really? The people say that means we're on the right track. I hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
How do you know? You said this about. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting. They're gonna be mad at me. They like to talk shit when I do this. But you said you knew she'd be a good mom. How do you know that? How did you know that?
You know, sometimes you just meet people, and you know how you meet people and you're like, oh, just as a comedian, you'd be like, oh, that person should be a comedian. They should do stand up.
Yeah.
It's just like that. You're like, oh, you'd be such a great mom.
Like you just know.
Yeah, she's this beautiful woman that is very caring and easygoing, and her mom's great. And, you know, it's just like all the deck is stacked. And so, and she is a great mom. And you never know. But I was always like, am I going to be a good dad? I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
And it's funny, he was born, Calvin was born, and when he was born, I never cried. I just don't, I do now, but I never used to cry. And he was born, and I cried, and I cried for, it was about 2 weeks that anything could have made me I was just so happy. And he just opened me up, man. It's just, I don't even know how to talk about it because it still feels that way. And I'm still in it, but he's just, I don't know. I don't want to be one of those boring guys that's just like, yeah, I've got the best kid, but like, I don't know. I've got the best kid for me. That's for sure.
No, so there's nothing wrong with thinking that.
Yeah.
So what you mean, like prior to this, you just were like more insensitive or something?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, when you, like I was with him today, and before I left, he was just like, he was playing with, we had his friends over, and I had to leave, and I was like, what are you doing, buddy? And he was like, I'm playing with Carter and Hudson. And it was just like, that is like, it's just like the fucking goddamn it, dude. It's almost like it pisses you off because you're like, you're fucking up my whole day in like a good way. Now I got to think about how like cute you are and how amazing it is to, it's just great, man. And you see him sharing toys, and it's just like, this is what life's about, man.
Yeah. Simple shit.
Yeah, really, man.
Did you ever any other moments in your life prior to like this realization, like where you were younger, you're like, life is about simple things, or was it always because you said you're 16, you're like, fuck that bitch who didn't want to be only a comic? Were you always hardcore until you're like, this shit opened you up?
I mean, it sounds silly because like I was from I'm from this town that's like, you know, I mean, I'm originally from New Jersey, but like, you know, we moved to La Cañada, which is a great place, and it's not like I'm from, but yeah, I always remember having that fucking chip on my shoulder, like, and being like, friends will like never be like, they'll always like backstab you or like show their true colors, and people don't change. And I just was always.
But did you learn that through through people?
Yeah, I went through something when I was 16 where my girlfriend broke up with me, and my friend and my best friend started dating her, and I was like, it was at such a formative moment in my life that it really fucked me up, dude. And it was at that point, this sounds funny, but it's true. It was at that point I found Tupac's music, and I was like, that fucking completely solidified who I was in my head.
Damn.
Yeah. And
that's fucking
I know,
funny
it's really
as
funny.
shit,
It's really
though.
funny. I know it's really funny. I fucking laughed at it.
You were like, wait a second, I get this.
Yeah, I know, so silly. Some dude from La Cañada just fucking like being like, fuck bitches and get money, you know, and just so silly. And I just carried that with me, bro. I legitimately, as silly as it is, I carried it with me until man. It's just silly, you know? And I realize that now, but it really affected me, bro. And so I never really like let the moments hit me. I never let the moments hit me.
That's real.
I never let the moments hit me. Dude, I wouldn't even listen to emotional music. I fucking was like, why do you want to listen to this shit, man? It pulls fake shit out of you that you're not even thinking. I would say this, and Kristen's like, I just want to listen to country, please. And I'm just like, fuck that shit. It's all about, it's just contrived trying to make you sad. I still hate country, but
it's a little different.
Yeah, but now I'm a little open to listening to. I try, dude. It's hard, but like,
it's funny how it's always girls that end up doing this.
I know.
Because like, I have a moment in my life prior to meeting my girl. I talk about this often on the podcast, but I did a girl for 8 years, a very on and off tumultuous relationship, great person. But prior to meeting her, I dated this girl who just like twisted me the fuck up, where when I got done with that relationship, I was so hurt that I was like, fuck bitches. I'm getting money. Fuck everyone. Everyone's trying to take advantage of me. I'm going to take advantage of everyone, everything. And then I met her, and it changed. It like obviously bled into that relationship and fucked it all up. But I remember that exact feeling of like, fuck everything. But the crazy part about that is that was at a point in my life, my early 20s, where as fucked up as it was, the moment that I was coming from, and it completely ruined that relationship, it also put my mindset in this, like, I'm going to crush it. Yeah. Like, I'm going to get it. Yeah. So there was a benefit, obviously, a con as well. But
yeah, no, I mean, it happens. It's like a lot of successful people come from that mindset. You know what I mean? And it's like, finding the balance is really fucking hard, especially for somebody in their 20s. Yeah. You know? And for me, I feel like it happened to me late, but like, I try to be about the balance. Like, I don't want to, like, bro, I mean, before COVID, I was doing so many shows, and my agent would be like, you want to do this show? And then if you do this show, it's more money. And if you do this show, it's this. And then you fly to fucking Wisconsin and do this show. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's. And I was like, why? What? For what? My life doesn't change if I make extra money. I'm still in this house. I'm still fucking, you know, doing what I do every day. Like, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to get to?
So at what age did you start to realize that? This is before COVID then, so 2 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's been that long. It's like COVID changed things. Like, I took a break. Like, I remember we got, like, when COVID happened, they were like, all right, everyone's gonna stay home for 2 weeks.
Oh my fucking God. This is the craziest.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'll be home for 2 weeks. We could do this shit. Before that, the longest I had not done shows for were 10 days. In my whole career, I had not gone more than 10 days and not done a show.
Without doing a show, yeah.
And that's 14 years. So I was like, all right, I could do 2 weeks. That's 14 days. Let's see if we can get through it, and then we'll come back. Everyone will be fucking healthy. And obviously we know what happened. But after like a week and a half or 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, I can just chill. Like, I got into it. I was like, I wasn't itching to get on stage. I was like, all right, everybody's in the same boat. Turned on fucking Love Island or whatever the fuck I'm watching on reality TV. To hang out with Calvin, be a dad. And I got into it, dude. And I got into it for like a year and a half. And just kind of, I knew in the back of my head, I guess I got to get on stage. I mean, there was a while I was like, maybe I just won't do fucking stand up. But like,
you thought you weren't going to do it again?
Yeah, I did.
Like ever?
Yeah, because wow. I mean, I just wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to get back in that game, man. The COVID and it really fucking, I lost a lot of friends because of everything. But like I lost friends just because of COVID. Man, people lost their minds because of COVID.
Oh my God.
I mean, like I have 4 friends that just like, look, I don't hate them or anything, but it's just like, okay, I don't know what else to talk to you about.
Yeah,
You're just talking about the same thing over and over again.
It did get crazy. Yeah, like crazy to the point where whether you believe this or that, whatever side, doesn't matter. But it got to this weird moment, like which. Not even politically speaking, but it's like it's just divided the fuck out of people because some people felt this or felt that. Yeah. And it did. I remember being like, oh, I can't even talk to you about it. Because then it was like almost like every conversation came back to that.
Yes,
and it's like, yo, just fucking let's go forward.
I know. And bro, I actually don't give a fuck what you believe. I don't care. I know people say that, but like, dude, I don't care who you voted for. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't fucking care. And so like this whole like silence is violence thing, it's like, no, some people just want to chill.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not out there marching doesn't mean that I'm racist.
Yeah. It's
like,
it was a crazy time.
It was insane. Everything was political. And then
especially social media. Cause like if you had some sort of platform and like, I remember people messaging me like, why aren't you talking about this? It's like, I don't know enough about this shit. Like, I can't say things that I don't know about.
They bully you into it.
It was fucking crazy, man. I know celebrities who had to say things because they knew if they didn't say things that they would be attacked by a side being like, why aren't you talking about this?
And you lose deals too. It's like, why didn't you? It's like I posted that black square when everyone posted that black square. And I'm like, I guess this is the thing to do. And then afterwards, I'm like, I don't even really know what that means. What the fuck? This is not saving anybody's life.
It's fucking crazy.
I do Instagram. I fucking do silly shit. Like, why am I posting this fucking black square?
Yeah, you get 1,000 people being like, why the fuck are you not doing this?
Wow, bro. Dude, it's so weird. It's like an episode of South Park. So I'm like...
It really is.
Now I'm not posting shit about... I don't know about anything.
Yeah.
I know about me. I'll post about me.
Yep.
You're not going to bully me into posting some shit. Silence is violence. Violence is violence.
Yeah, fuck off. Yeah. That was a really weird time.
Yeah.
Like a super weird time. Yeah. Man. And I mean... It just became like I don't know, man. People just attacked each other.
Everyone was home, losing their minds and fucking mad at everything. And so I don't know, man. And then it's like, you read the news and it's like fucking, that's the thing. It's like people are like, well, look into it. And then you look into it. And then like, if you could just support your side no matter what.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
up.
There's so much information out there that you can support your side. So I don't even trust that.
Yeah, well, I mean, even in that of itself is like the way social media and algorithms, all this stuff works is like, so even just news outlets, it's like they push one side, they push the other side, whichever one, right? But the algorithm, like on Instagram, on apps, on Facebook, if whatever you are looking into, it just gives you more of that.
Right.
So you just go down a rabbit hole, which whatever rabbit hole you started on, you're probably going to go deeper into it.
I go into fucking rabbit holes sometimes. I don't so much anymore, but I go into rabbit holes and then your fucking YouTube page changes and you're just like, all right, I got to click not interested in all this shit.
Yeah.
So make her clean my shit up.
It's weird. But it is weird. I would say that's like the catch-22 with this whole social media. It's such a cool thing, but there is like the subliminal like push of stuff that if you kind of start going, it keeps coming.
I know.
It's a very interesting fucking time, man. It wasn't like this 10 years ago.
Nah, I remember when like Twitter and shit and Instagram started and people were just like saying crazy shit just because you could.
Yeah.
And it was all part of it. And now that shit that you're said fucking 15 years ago can just literally...
come back and fuck you.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a fucking weird time. And I just try to remember people are people and everyone's got their own shit. and
Yeah, I think people forget. I think it's easy too on the internet to, like, if you're a fan or you're someone who watches and you like consume this content, it's very easy to get one side of something and just like not at all ever even see the other side. Even if the other side is ever even put out there, it's like you maybe like you see it one side and then the other side gets get out, but like you don't even see it because it's the algorithm. Right. It's just a very weird time. It's very easy for people to jump on things and talk shit and talk about this, talk about that. Yeah. And it's frustrating as a creator, as someone who's been doing it for so long. But at the same time, like, I realize it's just part of the game, and you just got to keep going forward.
It's also like, I'm sure like you're very big on and stuff, and a lot of people know who you are. Like, I mean, people talk shit about anyone who's big, right? So like, it's to remember that that's not actually like real life. It's like, I'm sure you walk around, everyone's like, hey, bro. You know what I mean?
Oh my
like,
God, yeah.
Nobody's like, it's that fucking dumbest shit workout. Like, no, they don't actually believe that. They're just, and I don't know I don't know if you get hate or what. I fucking have.
I get a ton of hate,
but I don't look. I'm not sitting looking at your negative comments, but like, everyone gets hate. So like, it's like people hate on me, and then I see them. I see them. Yeah. And they're like, what's up, bro? And I'm like,
let's get a photo.
What? Yeah. So it's fucking, and I've approached people too. Like, I remember I talked about this on my podcast, but there was a comedian that would just talk shit about me. And I approached him, and I remember I went to therapy beforehand about my group therapy. Is a bunch of people in there, and I was asked, and I was like, I got a show tonight with this dude, and he talks shit about me on the internet.
He's on the list as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm really angry, and I wanna confront him.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you want to say? And it's like, what do you feel like you want to say? And I was honest with them, and I said, I feel like I want to go up to him and say, hey, motherfucker, I'm here now. Why are you on this show if you're talking shit? Like, fuck you, you're a bitch.
Yep.
Because you talk shit online, and here you are. You're welcome for the people in the crowd, by the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're welcome for all these tickets I sold, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's my ego, right? But that's what I wanted to, in my head, that was the fantasy. And they said, the dudes who are very smart and in therapy with me.
I need this actually right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we all do, but different levels. But, and they said, and then what do you think? If you did that, then what do you think would happen? And I said, I don't know. He'll probably be like, fuck that. What are you fucking coming at me all hot for? Fuck you. And then they said, and then what? Yeah. And then I said, and then I'll be like, yeah, well, but you're a bitch. Yeah. And I'm having this conversation with these fucking people in my therapy. Yeah, and my therapist is there too, this 60-year-old lady. And I'm like, and then I'll be like, you're a fucking bitch. And then they said, and then what? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe like he'll want to fight or something, or maybe he won't. Maybe we'll just get in a big argument. And then they're like, and then what? And then I said, and then we'll go on stage at different times. We'll do our shows. And they're like, okay. And then they said, what if? They said, why? They said, why are you so angry at this guy? And I said, because he talks shit. And they're like, but why are you angry? And I said, because he shouldn't do that. And they said, why? And I said, because he's a comedian and he should like at least not, he doesn't have to have my back, but don't carry on with the mob. Like he should understand that this is a community. And they're like, and that bothers you? And I said, yeah, I guess so. And they were like, why? And I said, I don't know. They kept asking why until I eventually said, I mean, I don't know. It really hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So then one of the guys said, well, what if when you get to the improv, you walk up to him.
So you hurt my feelings.
And tell him that that he hurt your feelings.
Yeah. This is great.
And I said, but then you won't know like how angry I am. And they were like, but you're angry because your feelings are hurt, right? And I was like, yeah. And then they were like, if you go in and if you tell him that he hurt your feelings, what do you think he'll say? And I said, well, he'll probably feel really bad. And he said, don't you think that's a better outcome? And you'll achieve what you wanted to achieve anyway? Is making him feel badly about what happened rather than getting defensive and want to fight? And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. And so I fucking left and I went to the show and I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to tell this motherfucker that he hurt my goddamn feelings. I get to the show.
And you're like, fuck you.
No. I get to the show and I see the guy. And he says, hey, what's up, man? And I say, hey, I got to talk to you, man. Like,
yo, you're killing me.
I went through like a really hard time and like a lot of people were talking shit about me. And I just want you to know that, you know, you were a part of that. And it really hurt my feelings. And dude, the look on his face was like, oh, he said, I did? And I said, yeah, like you did. You talked some shit. And he was like, I don't even remember doing that. And I said, well, I Googled it earlier just to make sure and it's still there. And he was like, oh, I feel badly. And I said, I know you to be a good guy. He opened for me before. Yeah. And so it just didn't really add up to the relationship we had, and it made me feel really badly. And he said, oh, I like to think I'm not one of those people that does that. He had to go on stage. He got off stage, and he said, hey, he had a great set. He's a good comedian. And he was like, hey, dude, I don't remember doing that, but if I did, you said I did, and I'm sure I did. I'm really fucking sorry. And I was like, it's all good, dude. I know you to be a good dude, and I appreciate you saying that. And fuck it. Yeah. And it went about as well as it could have. Like either the guy is lying, does remember that he did it, which I understand that because some people don't like confrontation.
They don't want to own up to this shit.
Especially comedians. Like, bro, I might do the same thing in a certain time of my life, or he truly doesn't remember it. In which case, this is how crazy the shit is when the mob comes after you. Yeah. And like people aren't thinking about, oh, this is a person. But it ended up being okay. And, you know, he is a good guy, dude. Yeah. I like the guy.
Shout out to one of our sponsors, Cushy Dreams. Listen, I'm still asking you guys, where's the pre-roll pump? That's what I want. That's what I want this on my doorstep ASAP. But listen, it's CBD. I'd rather smoke CBD instead of ingest it for the most part. Honestly, because I just like the vibes. The vibes are nice. The vibes stay nice. And you don't get twisted. You don't like super high where you feel super paranoid, super anxious. It's actually pretty relaxing. But yeah, this is the energy version of it. And since I'm about to go to the gym, like that's better than obviously the dream one because I'm not trying to go to sleep. I'm not trying to be like this, which is like if I smoke that one, I'd be like this. But I'm not like that right now. I'm ready to go to the gym. If you guys want to get it, go to cushydreams.com.
Use promo code RAWTALK.
If you guys want to get it, go to cushydreams.com. That's KUSHY.com. Use promo code RAWTALK for 25% off your first order. Do it. It's actually amazing. Shout out. I just really want them. Tell them if you guys can
We're working
hit
on
on their DMs. I don't know if they got DMs at their fucking Twitter. Maybe be like, yo, where is the pump?
Also, wait, how much do they get off on this?
25% off.
That's a lot. What? 25?
Promo code RAWTALK. Do it right now. And we're going to get back into this podcast.
I'm going to go do that right now.
I have a question. Like, the guy talking shit or whatever, obviously, where do you think, like, that kind of stuff comes from? Do you think the talking the shit, like, listening to the mob, all the bullshit, like, following that trend, that line, is it, do you think someone is trying to, like, validate themselves or trying to make themselves feel better or trying to make you look bad so they look good? Like, where do you think it's coming from?
I mean, I think it can be a myriad of reasons, but
it's a good word. It's a great word, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever said it.
It was amazing. Holy shit.
I sounded phony when I said it.
No, it was fucking...
But it is. It could be a myriad.
Yeah, there you go.
I think, well, like I said, people are bullied into speaking. Like that whole silence is violence thing is crazy to me. But like if you don't say something, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Is crazy to me. Because very rarely do we know about a situation we're not involved with anyway. So it's like, you know, sure, does this cause or this organization sound good as a headline? Yeah, it does, you know, but who knows? You know, it's like, yes, Black Lives Matter. That sounds great to me. And then you read the thing about how the fucking lady was using all the money to buy the fucking house.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, what do I believe? I have no fucking idea, right? And that, just by the way, just because she did that doesn't mean that it's a bad organization. It just that could be just a weak moment. I don't know anything about it, dude. Yeah. I don't know her. I don't know. I'm not black. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not a personal thing to me. Should it be? I don't know. But you know, I think that people bully people into, you're going to be on the wrong side of history, you know? Yeah. And I also think it does make people feel better about stuff, about themselves. You know, like, I mean, people get like dragged for all sorts of shit. You know, like Chappelle, you know, I mean, they're at the end of the day, it's just words, right? What he's saying. Right. And I get how that could hurt people's feelings. And look, as a comedian, I promise I'm never trying to hurt anybody's feelings. Like, just never. I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to make you laugh. And so is Chappelle. And so is all the other comedians. And so this thought of, he said this about trans people or whatever the fuck, get on board with fuck Dave Chappelle, or you're the reason why trans people are dying, is something that when somebody says that to you, you might think, oh, well, they get you like this. Do you want trans people to be dying? And you're like, well, no. And they say, oh, okay, well, then you're part of us. And you're like, well, yeah, I guess. And then you're like, yeah, fuck Dave Chappelle. But you're like, wait, hold on. It's not about that. Yeah. I don't want trans people to die, but also what Dave Chappelle is saying is a fucking joke, right? Or it's like the Q shit, the QAnon stuff. They're like, you know, some people are like, Joe Biden's a lizard, you know that, and they're like, no, he's not, and they're like, but you want to save the children? And you're like, well, yeah, of course. And they're like, then come on, and you're like, okay, and then you're like marching, and you're like, okay, and okay, well, Joe Biden maybe not a lizard, but the children, we want to save the children. And then before you know it, you're like, yeah, Joe Biden's a fucking lizard, you know? Yeah. But that's how they get you, and that's what the mob mentality is. Yeah, you know, it's like, it's an insane thing. They also don't realize that, like, it turns into like, bro, the like all like these are like death threat. I was talking to like a comedian that got canceled the other day, and he was like, dude, the amount of death threats you get is just, and I've gotten death threats. Like it's not something that makes you feel anything but like when you're getting death threat after death threat after death threat, it's impossible to not think maybe it's better off if I am dead, you know? And it fucks with you, dude. It fucks with you. And the shit is real. And it's, you know, it's a shame because, like, this comedian that I was talking to, he didn't deserve that, you know? And he's a good guy. I know the guy. Yeah. And back then when he got canceled for what it was something he said, the community felt it. They were like, oh, we should speak out on this. But that's all bullshit, man. You don't know the situation. Yeah. Like, I'm not about speaking on shit for clicks. Like, there's something, like, I want to be a person before that. I don't give a fuck. If you don't want to watch my podcast, don't watch my podcast. Yeah. But I'm not talking about the ongoing drama with this because of that and this in the community and that. It's like, I don't know the situation. Or I do know the situation, and those guys are my friends, and I don't want to make it worse for them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Why? Because this shit affects people, man.
Yeah, it does. Genuinely. Yeah. I think it's frustrating because, like, I don't know, the mob mentality on the outside, like outside of the socials, like just from the audience. I don't think they really truly realize that, or they do and they don't care because they just jumped on the bandwagon and it's like a comfortableness and it's like fuck it, because it is like you're talking about real people's like lives, their businesses, their brands, like who they are.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, like, I don't know, is it, you know, when you talk bad about someone else, is it just for your own benefit? And that's the thing that gets catch-22 to me. It's like, wait, you're like, because I'm talking about not as like a fan talking shit, but like as another comic or another person in your industry, right? Because I deal with this in my own way in a different industry where it's like, is your intention, like you're trying to make someone else look like a bad person or enforce that in, you know, the audience's mind, but like, what's your reason for that? Remember we're talking about like, why would you, what you really want to say to that person, right? So it's like, what is that person really trying to get out of making you look bad? Is it to make them look good so they can sell tickets, so they can look righteous?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, that could be one of the myriad of reasons. But yeah. And, you know, look, we all talk shit. I try not to, but I do, you know, and a lot of times it's under the guise of like, oh, but I'm joking. I try not to come from a shitty place. But, you know, there was just a comic last night that I walked up to and I you know, we had a discussion and I was like, you know, he's, you know, we've butt heads before, and I told him, I was like, dude, I've talked so much shit about you, and I just like, I shouldn't have, and I feel badly, and like, you know, I don't want to be doing that. And it's just as long as you're trying to keep your side of the street clean, it's good. But I think it gets mixed up and convoluted with like the social aspect of it, whereas it's like, but I want to seem like a good person. I want to make sure, I want acceptance from other people that I'm a good person, you know, when that's not what makes you a good person. What makes you a good person is what you do in your life positively, you know? So, and dude, there's a lot, you know, there's a lot of mental illness in the world, dude. And like, I think that we forget about that sometimes. You know, I know this whole, everyone's like, yeah, take a mental health day, we'll speak out for mental illness. But like, you know, these people are real people. Like, remember everyone had the crazy uncle that you wouldn't invite for Thanksgiving? All those dudes found each other on Reddit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's hundreds of thousands of those motherfuckers. There's millions of those motherfuckers. And they're saying shit. And you don't know that they're mentally unwell. So you're like, yeah, you know what? I do want to save the children. And before you know it, you're sucked in thinking that fucking Biden's a lizard because of these motherfuckers. And you wouldn't even sit with them during Thanksgiving. You know?
The internet's a crazy place.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
You know, I go back and forth on like the free speech of it all. And yeah, you know, I'm for free speech, obviously, but I'm a comedian. But then there's like, okay, well, what's bullying?
Yeah.
And should that happen? And yeah, it's free speech to say, fuck you, die. But also, should that be online?
Yeah.
You know? And now that I'm a dad, I think about Calvin growing up in that way. And him having to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people online that talk shit about him. You know, and he's too. And unfortunately, it's the stuff that you got to live with as a celebrity, and also not even just as a celebrity, because everybody's a celebrity now.
Yeah.
You know,
social media.
Everyone's got, you know, you got 1,000 followers, you got 600 followers. There are days where you're like, fuck yeah, dude, I'm a big deal, and 600 people know you are. You fill those 600 people fill in a room. That's a good fucking payday, man.
Yeah, I think the reality, whether celebrity or not, I think in life in general, like you in your own circle, your own ecosystem, you're gonna have the similar dynamics.
Yeah.
Because it just seems to be like human nature to like, you know, point fingers, say this or you did that, whatever. Yeah. It's just it's definitely magnified on the internet to a degree that can like really, like you said, like the death threats, all the stuff that could really hurt someone. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm not speaking on any situation for you specifically. Mm-hmm. I know I've dealt with a bunch of shit over all the years that I've done it. And I don't know. I guess try to pose the question, like, what's the fucking point of it truly? Like, because are you really is there anything like positive coming out of it? It seems like it just seems to just be like a.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I'd have to think about that.
Just fucking tear people down just to tear them down.
It's a good question. I'd have to think about that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's weird when people are. It's also like people are so worried now. Like the people are so worried. Can I say this? Should I do this? Is it okay to say this? Yeah. I don't want to get fucking, I don't want to lose my deal or whatever it is, or, and it's like, living like that is so fucking stressful, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, you got your sponsors and shit. And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's too much to think about almost. But I guess, you think of like a comedian, and capitalism is a real thing. Like, if people want to go see the guy, they're going to go see the guy.
Yeah.
And, if you sell tickets, they sell tickets. So take, Louis or whoever the fuck, they say, well, like, oh yeah, he's doing shows and he abused his power, but it's like, so what's he supposed to do then? You say do better. Okay, well, let him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is, but
yeah, people definitely like to. I don't know. It's almost like it's an interesting thing because like people, we talk and we believe so much in like the ability to grow and self growth, but then you don't want it for other people when they want it for themselves.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. I wish I did, dude. I wish there was an answer, Yeah. But this is just one of those things. It's also like still new, like the social aspect on this grand scale. It's a new thing, Like I said, actors used to be like I always think about like Harrison Ford was like a huge fucking movie star.
The man.
And like whenever he would walk around, people would go, wow, that's Harrison Ford. But there were people at home that would be like, fuck Harrison Ford. But
I don't know though, because like you would only know him from unless he played a bad character.
There might have been less about that, but like,
but
there were guys who were like, I don't like that guy. He looks like a guy that fucked my girl or some shit, And
sure.
And like now all those people are like there are no movie stars anymore like that. Like even we saw it, Will Smith,
Yeah.
If that happened in the 80s, it would have they would have reported on it, would have been gone.
Yeah.
But Will Smith is a person, and people fuck up and do dumb. If you were to ask Will Smith, hey, what do you think about what you did? He would have been like, that was dumb as shit.
Yeah.
I've met him once or twice, and he doesn't seem like a guy that goes around smacking people.
No, nice guy.
And
really nice.
He seems like he's doing good things for the world. I know he makes a lot of money at it, but he entertains the world. He pulls people out of dark places with his fucking movies, and what he did was fucking stupid. I'm obviously a fan of Chris Rock. I got Chris Rock's back. I'm a comedian. I think that it's bullshit Will Smith did that. I think it's bullshit that Amy Schumer didn't say something about it afterwards, being Chris Rock's friend. People do dumb shit, and
Yeah, I mean,
it's stupid they didn't remove Will Smith right there from the Oscars. I think he fucking won, and he got a standing ovation.
And then they're like, okay, now later we're gonna take it out
because they feel, oh wait, we're all mad about this.
Yeah. Okay, we got to do something.
So it's like,
but that's what I'm saying. The group thing is becoming like becoming a problem. It's a fucking crazy thing.
Yeah, it's weird, bro. It's weird.
Like people lose, like you said, that you lose. Wait, where am I? Where do I actually stand? Because they just go, oh, they're all standing over there, so I'm standing over there now.
People like like guys like Will Smith, Joe Rogan, they try to cancel him. It's like, I mean, so fucking everybody, but like they're too big, especially like a guy like Joe Rogan who's just gonna be like, he makes his own money. It's not through, I mean, he's got a Spotify deal, but he could be like, just pay for a subscription instead. If Spotify was like, no, we're gonna drop you, then he would still be.
He could just go on a platform and fucking crush,
or
make his own platform. Fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can't really, I don't know why they come for somebody like Joe Rogan, because it's just not going to work. But like, I think they feel good when they get certain guys. Actors have to be fucking careful, because Hollywood is a woke fucking place.
Yeah.
If you're just a guy in movies or TV, You got oh man, you got to be terrified. Even if
Yeah.
you didn't do shit, you're like, who knows? I'm a good person, but they come for good people sometimes.
Yeah.
So
They
yeah,
go crazy.
Yeah.
Just be pulling shit up too.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time, man. But social media just makes it's what made it the way it is now. It's made it like fucking 10 times worse. But so for you in comedy, you said earlier like you thought about never doing it again. Like you now you're like all the way in. You would never stop, or when do you think you would stop? Is there like an end to this? Like where do you go? Obviously the podcast stuff.
Yeah, I love doing my podcast, and I love doing stand up again. The first month or two when I came back, it was a struggle. I honestly did it because of Calvin. I wanted him to know that you can, you can do what you can do it. You don't have to be scared. And so I did it for him, and I kept doing it for him, and now I'm finally doing it
Coming back to it.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Calvin got me through that. He's just, I love doing it. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And it's cathartic, and it's now I'm at the point where I don't see, I don't look, online, but if I ever hear about some sort of hater thing, I just book another show because
Just keep going.
because I just want to. I'm gonna do stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I think you're one of the fucking funniest comedians.
Thank you, man.
Like straight up.
Thank you.
Before I ever met you, obviously years ago I met you in that moment.
Yeah.
I remember being like, "Oh man, cool."
Yeah.
And then, but prior to that, I'd watched your stuff. Like I'd been a fan, and now it's
cool.
dope. Like full circle, be able to come here and have this conversation with you about it.
Well, I don't do many podcasts, but I know you're a good dude, and I've liked you, and I know we have mutual friends, and
Yeah.
I just think what you're doing is really cool, man. Like you're an interesting dude to me, like because I've seen your stuff obviously, and I follow you on Instagram and all that shit, and I look at your YouTube videos and sometimes I'm like, what the fuck is he doing lifting 9 people on like a fucking
Yeah, it's dumb shit.
But there's this whole other side of you that is like a really good, savvy fucking businessman, and you seem like a good dude. So I'm like, I don't know. I like who you portray yourself as. So I was all in, and I wanted to come do this. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
So I have a question about that. How can you, as someone who's gone through all the shit in your life, how do you perceive someone as a good person? How can you tell?
Well, I don't know if you can, but you try to, because you got to hope for the best, because if you don't, then you're just going to have this thing where it's like you're not trusting anybody, and you can't live like that,
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, in my life, everybody was my friend. I met people, and if they got my humor, like some people would be like, he's a dick. They just didn't get that I'm joking and stuff. But like, if you got it, I was in, man. I loved making new friends. I loved having my crew, people. I love people, dude. I just love how weird they are, how different they are. And
Yeah, one of my favorite things in the world is people watching.
it's just, it's so fun. And like, so you never can really judge people, and people surprise you in horrible ways, and then they surprise you in really fucking great ways too,
Yeah.
But I just, you can never know. But I definitely just hope for the best, and it's an energy thing. It's funny too. My mom would be like, you better find a wife before you get like, you're just getting more and more famous. You better find a wife that like
Loves you for you.
loves you for you.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, yeah, that's true. And then she was like, you better, she would just keep coming back to this. And I'm like, you know what? Actually, I'm not an idiot. And like, I'm not going to marry somebody that doesn't like me for me. I'm just going to think I am good enough and understand enough about people to know that I'll be smart enough to find the right person. And once I realized that, I was like, oh yeah. And then I did, it's like, there's this whole idea of don't trust anyone. And, Tupac,
Yeah.
fuck these motherfuckers,
Yeah.
trust no one. And
Yeah.
I'm sure if Tupac grew up and he would be about 60 now, he probably would look at that Tupac and be like, yeah, you could trust some people though, you know?
Yeah. So okay, I got a question. That's interesting. You said something about energy. Did you have you? Is that new for you? This
What?
idea of energy, like the vibe, understanding
it's not
people.
new, but I you know, I don't. I got to keep my circle tight. You know, it makes me new people. I've always been the kind. I've always been the kind of person that walks into a room and any room and felt like I need to win people over because I think that they're not going to like me. I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah, where does that come from?
Bro, I don't know. I'm in therapy and I talk about it all the time. And my therapist is like, you should. That's a horrible way to live, you know, because of the sadness. And I'm just like, yeah, you're right. I guess I never actually really thought about that. But when I walk into a room, any room, if I'm going to get coffee, I think
Still to this day?
yeah, it's a struggle, man. Like I'll walk in and I'll think like, oh, that person probably doesn't like, maybe they don't like my comedy, or maybe I know somebody that they know that doesn't like me and they talk shit. Yeah, it's really fucking weird. I don't know where it comes from, but my therapist used Calvin. She was like, well, when Calvin was born, do you like Calvin? And I was like, I love Calvin. And and she said, why? And I said, because he was born and he's my son. And she was like, yeah, you like him because he's your son and you met him and he just came out and you like him just because. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, so why the fuck can't people be like that about you? And I was like, fuck, that's a really good point. Like, they don't know me, you know? What if, like, I'm also, it's like an ego thing. I'm assuming people even know who the fuck I am, you know?
Yeah.
But it's always been like that. Even before I was like, you know, somebody on Netflix and shit. Like, I would walk in and I remember in high school, I would be like, I'd go to the neighboring school's thing and nobody knew me. And I would be like, oh, they probably think I'm like just some bitch. I don't know what the fuck it is, bro.
That's crazy.
I know. And that's what, and I would use humor, bro. I would go in and I'd be like, I'm gonna make fun of people. And I'd sometimes, and I got good at it, dude. That's why it's my career. Like, I go in and I can win a room over. And like, and then I would go in and like comedians, when I was coming up, people didn't necessarily know who I was. People would crush and I'd be like, oh, I want to go on after that motherfucker to see if I could do it. Like, Chris Rock would do 40 minutes and I was like, oh, I hope I get to go next. You
Remember
know?
I asked you earlier about where did your comedy come from and like also coming from pain and most comics coming from pain? Because it kind of sounds like that a little bit. Like, not so much like, oh, I'm hurt, but you're your need to feel accepted.
Yeah.
And then your need to try to get people to accept you.
And the truth is, I think that pain doesn't necessarily come from something that palpably happens to you. I think pain is in your head, right? Like, because people can go through different things. You could go through something and walk out like, that wasn't a big deal. And I can go through something and be like, man, that really affected me.
Yeah.
And that's pain to me, right? So pain, you know,
it's subjective.
You are who you are in your head, not who people think you are. And so, yeah, in that way, I guess it does come from some pain, you know, which is interesting, I guess, you know. And talking about it with you, just like, you know, I was like, oh yeah, I guess that is right.
Yeah, wanting the acceptance.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants acceptance, and I think comedians probably want it a little bit more, you know, because of whatever the fuck. You know, even last night I was on stage. Last night I was at the Laugh Factory, and it's a bit of a name drop, but I was at the Laugh Factory. It's great. You come out soon. But I was on stage, and there was a special guest slotted for me. I was going to come in and do some time, and but the manager asked me to do it last minute, and it was already sold out. So I was like, yeah, just put special guests. I'll pop in. And the comedians I was like, when do you want me to go on? And they were like, he was like, later. He's like, the reason why I asked you to come is because Justin Timberlake's coming, and I thought it'd be cool if you were on, and you know, I want the show to be good, and you know, so I go there, and Justin Timberlake shows up, and he's like, "What's up?" And I say, "Hey, you know, I don't know if he knows who I am or whatever, but he walks by. I've never met him, and we nod, you know." And the show goes, it runs long. The manager's like, "I'm gonna put you up at the end," but the show goes so long that I'm like, I'm a special guest. I'm not billed on it. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna go on because it's just too long, and I don't want to have to. as the night moves on, it's harder and harder to do stand up. Like the first spot you'll crush, second spot you'll crush.
Because you can only make
Third
people
spot.
laugh so long.
Yeah, at this point it's 3 hours. If the show's 3 hours, people are laughing, but they're like literally thinking like, I don't even know. Like people are like,
when
how
was last
long has
time
it
I
been?
ate?
When's last? Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to go on.
Okay.
And then the manager comes up and he was like, hey, Justin saw you and he was asking if you were going to go on.
Oh,
and I was
shit.
like,
Fuck.
I'm going to eat shit. You know, I'm going to
Yeah.
go up and it's going to be a struggle. So I'm like, he's like, just go on. I'm like, all right, I'll go on. And I got into my head. I was like, it's been 2.5 hours of good stand-up. I mean, they had good comedians on. People were crushing. You had Max Amini, Dane Cook, fucking Eric Griffin. I mean, these guys crush. And there's always that drop-off point where it's like, oh, this person isn't as good. And it's just because the crowd's tired. So I was like, I'm not going to let this fucking shit happen to me, dude. Bro. And I got into that. I was like, all right, it's been a show, but I'm going to fucking go up and I'm going to kill. And I went up and I had a great set. But you know, I looked at it as like I wanted the acceptance so badly of the show, but I also wanted the acceptance of fucking Justin Timberlake and fucking Jessica Biel. I can't act like she was there too, and I just saw that show Candy, and she's like so good in it.
Yeah.
And he's in it too, and I'm just like, I just watch these motherfuckers, and it's annoying that I want that acceptance, but I did, and you know,
It's normal though.
Yeah, it's normal, I guess. And afterwards, they were like, great job, and we talked a little bit, and they're good people, and and so it was just still a reminder that like, God, there's always that fucking acceptance that you want as a comedian at every level.
I think just as a person, man, as a human,
Yeah.
we all want acceptance.
But at every level, though, it happens. Like, I'm like, if I go up on stage and my fans are there, like if I'm doing a show in Boston and I sell tickets and they're coming to see Chris D'Elia, I'm fine. I'm going to go out. They're going to like me. You know what I mean? But like, to be the special guest after fucking 2.5 hours, I'm like, I hope in my head, I'm not Kevin Hart. Not everybody knows who I am. People are going to be like, is that guy from this? Or, yeah, I think I recognize him. Is he funny? And then I got to, it's at every level. Yeah. So it's just a reminder, bro. I always say this, but like, you are never better than the room. As a comedian, you're never better than the fucking room. Like, you can go and just have a bad set because the room is not what you thought it was, you know?
Yeah.
And I was able to fucking do well, but, sometimes, it happened a few weeks ago where I was like, that was fucking whack. It was fine, but it was just like, it wasn't a bomb, but like,
Do you have any specials or anything coming up? Do you work on anything?
So I'm doing my show on the road, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I might...
Because how many Netflix ones do you have?
I have 4, I think. I think I have 4. I might have 3. But I have another one that's like maybe a half an hour on this Comedians of the World, or maybe I have 4. Incorrigible. Oh yeah, I have 4. I have 3, and then that half hour one on Comedians of the World, and then the first one I did was for Comedy Central. So I have a few. And after I did my last one, I was like, what am I going to do next? I didn't, because I was doing specials like every year and a half, every 2 years, and I'm like, at the end of the day, I was like, how many specials do I really want to have? Like, and I know it's a different little bit of a mentality now, is like content is king. You got to just keep putting shit out.
More.
But bro, like, I put out clips on TikTok and they get like fucking 12 million views on my stand-up, and I'm like, I don't. Netflix doesn't tell you, but like, I don't know how many people are watching me on Netflix. Is it 12 million? I have no fucking idea.
They don't give you stats?
Nah. So like,
what the fuck?
So like, yeah, because it's better for them if they don't, because then they could pay you what they want to pay you.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it's like, I don't know. The game is constantly changing. People are doing it on YouTube now.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I looked at somebody the other day. They have like fucking 10 million views, and this is a comedian that blew up on YouTube. And if he was on Netflix, he might have got lost in the shuffle. Yeah. And I have 4 on Netflix or 3 on Netflix. So if I have them on Netflix, they can see me on Netflix already.
Right.
So maybe it is better if I do something else.
Yeah.
You know?
Platform.
People on TikTok are like, oh, who's this? Oh, is this the guy from that? Oh, yeah, I don't know him. And
well,
like,
it's a whole new audience.
Whole new audience.
Whole new audience.
Whole new audience, yeah.
So you have to keep doing it. Like
Yeah.
how long? I guess my question of refining is how long do you see yourself doing this? Are you going to continue to do comedy, or are you going to continue to do podcasts? Like where do you see yourself evolving into?
I guess I don't really think about it. I just know.
You just keep going.
I just keep going. I mean, at this point, it's like it's my bread and butter. You know, I want Calvin to be comfortable. I want Kristen to be comfortable. I want, you know, people. I have employees that count on me, so I want them to be comfortable, and you know, I want to keep doing it, but I also love it. So I want to keep doing it because of that reason. Will I always do stand up? I have a feeling like no matter how many breaks I'll take, I'll always come back.
Yeah.
But I'm in it now, you know. So yeah.
I got to come see the show.
Yeah, come, man. I'm on all
I'd
the time.
love to.
Just trying to work shit out.
Yeah. So do you focus on any social platforms in particular?
I mean, TikTok seems to be the one now, so I kind of like post my clips on TikTok, and my page, like the stand-up clips do really well. It's funny, like I post a lot of stand-up clips, so I think people started coming for that. And then like I post, sometimes my podcast ones do well, but sometimes they don't. And then I look at like Theo Vaughn, you know, Theo, and like his podcast clips are fucking way off the charts, and his stand-ups aren't as big. So I'm like, why is...
Yeah.
Because he's a big stand-up comedian, you know?
Yeah.
It's just weird the way the algorithm works. So I'm like, I'm always trying to figure it out. I like figuring it out. Like I always like trying to figure out the new platform and shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you have any favorite comedians, like current comedians right now?
Yeah, I really like... My favorite probably is... It's probably Bill Burr. I really like Bill. He's really funny. I love Chris Rock. I've always loved Chris Rock. I'm trying to
about
think
like
of
up and coming guys?
lesser known guys. I always say Fahim Anwar. I think he's great. And I love my opener, the guy who opens for me, Mike Lenoci, who is my opener. I'm lucky to have him as an opener. That guy's a pro, man. That guy, we did a corporate gig the other day, and he... It's
a corporate gig, like you show up for like a company?
For a company, like in Dallas.
They like just come make these people laugh?
So, yes. So basically, it's their company has an event, and their events are always boring as shit.
Yeah,
they're just
company bullshit.
So they're like, well, let's get comedy involved. I never do corporate gigs because I don't want to, because they're horrible.
Yeah, it's just...
And they're not there for comedy. A lot of the guys are like 60-year-old, and it's just like, this is not my demo. I'm up here talking about, you know, what I'm talking about. And this they hit me up, and they were like, oh, but corporate gigs, very good payday.
Makes sense.
So I'm like, all right, look, they're going to pay me. I wasn't going to do it, but Kristen wanted to go to Texas. So I'm like, if I can make a trip out of it,
let's get some
fuck
money.
it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So we go, and the corporate is in like this banquet hall, and I'm like, this is not conducive to, it's not a club, it's not a theater. I'm like, all right, it's going to be bad, it's going to be fine, I'll get the check, it's all good. And I brought I was like, I'm not coming unless I can have a guy do 10 minutes in front of me, because then I can really judge how bad the crowd is. Because I know what he does, I know he can kill, right? So if he doesn't kill, it's not him, it's the crowd. So I know I got to really dig in, right?
I love the getting this by like understanding that.
Yeah, it's something that you wouldn't know, you know? So they say, okay, you can bring an opener. So I have Mike Lenoci come. He's a pro. I mean, the guy kills. So he goes out there and does, I would say, really well. I say, don't do too much crowd work, because that's easy. That's easy in this situation, because if you go up and say, hey, bro, what do you do for this company? Everyone's like, oh, that's Bill. What's he going to say? That's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's Mary. What's Mary going to say? So I say, don't exhaust the crowd work, because I got to be up there for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I might have to do this.
Yes.
If my material doesn't work, because a lot of times material doesn't work at a corporate gig. I don't care what you say. And so he goes up, does a little bit of crowd work, and then does his act, does really well, I would say. I go on, and I just start doing crowd work. I start crushing, right? I start doing really well myself. I dip into some material, because I'm like, I wonder if this will work. The material does okay. So I'm like,
how do you gauge it okay? Just the laughs?
I mean,
like how much
the
they
laugh,
how long they laugh?
The laugh, and how long they laugh. And it's also like, when I do the crowd work, they're erupting. But when I do the material, they'll relate to it. But I've already established I'm doing crowd work, and to dip into material, it's a little bit trickier.
Oh.
So I talk about that, the material. I'm talking about my son. People have kids, and they laugh. But then I go back into crowd work. I probably did in 45 minutes. I probably did 5 minutes of material, and I just roasted the shit out of them, and they loved it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I was saying on stage, I was like, man, corporate gigs fucking suck. I was dreading this. It's like, you guys are fucking awesome. And they were just happy, dude.
Yeah.
They were so happy that the CEO, I was like, look, I did my time. I did 45 minutes. Thank you. The CEO said, I don't want to say the amount, but he was like, do 15 more minutes and I'll pay you this much more.
Oh.
And I was like, I guess I'm a fucking hooker tonight, dude.
Yeah.
So I just
run
stayed,
that
I
up.
did extra 15 minutes, and yeah, it was great. But you never know what you're going to get with a corporate gig.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know who, because they're not your fans, you know. I was walking around the hotel earlier in the day, and people were like, oh, we were happy to get you. I was like, oh, that's a relief, man. Like, it was a virtual real estate, which I don't even know what that fucking means. But a virtual
Maybe the
real
people
estate
who like
company.
make videos on like Zillow and shit of like house
It
walkthroughs.
seemed way shadier than that, bro.
Oh, no.
And I was talking about it. I was like, there's going to be a fucking Netflix documentary about you motherfuckers. This
Yeah.
is shady as shit. It was working, you know, but like, and it was fun. It was fun, bro. It was fun. But, you know, they're not always fun. I've had corporate gigs where I have just tanked, dude. And I'm like, I did this shit on Netflix. This works.
This worked. It
Yeah,
just didn't
yeah,
work.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
So,
All right, we're gonna get some audience questions.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions for me. So at the end of every episode,
Yeah.
we do 3 questions normally, right? And if you guys want to get your questions asked, you can shoot us an email at askrawtalk@gmail.com, or you can send us a DM at getrawtalk on Instagram. You can shoot us a DM, easy. But do you have any of the questions lined up?
Yeah.
Okay. And normally, like, you'll answer, I'll answer, whatever.
Okay, cool,
whatever
cool.
works.
Okay, so where is it? I literally just had it.
You got it. It's my birthday today, by the way.
oh, yeah, you said happy birthday. That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Do you say your age or no?
Yeah,
Oh,
33.
Oh, fuck,
Yeah.
you're young, bro. Because I always think Jack guys are fucking way older than they are, because I'm like, because I just look at it as like more advanced than me, and if you're more advanced than me this way, you have to be older than
Yeah,
me. But
yeah.
fucking 33, god damn it, dude.
Yeah,
That's
I feel great.
amazing, bro. Good for you.
I feel great.
Okay, so this one is, how do you stay motivated when everything feels like it's going against you and you feel like there's no way out? Also, love the pod. Brad, you're dope. Like, that's basically what they say.
Okay. So I'll start it off, and then I'll
Yeah.
let Chris go. So it's kind of interesting because it's along the lines of the things we were talking about earlier about like this, the groupthink mentality and people being against you for whatever reasons. Because I've dealt with a lot of this shit in my career over the years, and me specifically just being on social, right? I never did stand up. I never put myself out that way, but definitely all my feedback is like, direct from the audience.
Right.
So what I realized is like there's some points where like I just had to just stop reading. I had to stop looking at things. I had to stop engaging with certain things and just going, okay, like who the fuck am I and what do I really give a fuck about and what really makes me happy and what really drives me, and just focus on that. And I remember because I've gone through so many different phases in my career. I went through bullshit earlier on in my career. I go through bullshit. Even today I deal with people just talking shit recklessly, and it is what it is. And I realized like, okay, I'll get to messages and there'll be someone in my DM who'll be like, fuck you, you suck. And I'll reply like, yo, I appreciate the love.
Right.
And they'll be like, oh man, I just, I'm sorry. I just wanted your,
A lot of it is
right.
that, yeah.
And then also I just realized I just needed to focus on the good. Like straight up, I know it sounds so cliche to say, but it is really, as hard as it is that simple to just you just have to keep going, okay, you see the bullshit, and then try to just start kind of either avoiding it or addressing it with positivity, and then going towards like, okay, this is why I'm really here. This is what really makes me happy. This is what I really give a fuck about. Like focusing on that, man. Like this kind of content, talking, learning, sharing, understanding people, where they come from, why they got there, how they got there. I think like for me is the most enjoyable part. So, okay, this is a great example right now where me having a podcast and talking to someone like you and learning about your life and what you've gone through and how you've got to where you're at. That's what I focus on. And not like the bullshit that someone could say about this or that or some other shit just to drag me, right? And it's just kind of like I just realized it's hard, but it's almost like with everything, the more exposure you have to it, the more you work through it, the better you become at like, okay, this is hitting me, and you're able to go forward through it. So
that's good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know you say it sounds cliche, but it just really is true. I mean, it's hard to even think of something else to say besides that. But, look, it's like, this person talking about how to get through dark times and shit and keep going. First of all, you have to, right? You have to get through that.
Yeah.
Because the only option is not getting through that. And that's the worst thing, okay? You don't want the worst thing. You want a way out. And sometimes the way out in a positive way seems unmanageable and too difficult. But I would argue that I look at it as when I have something I don't want to do, like a chore even, something basic or benign that I have to do and I don't want to do it, and I so don't want to do it. I think about it in a way like this. I'm going to end up doing it. I have to do it. It's going to get done because I have to do it. So in a way, it's already done, right? If you're looking at it in a mental way, if I have to do something and there's not a choice, I'm already there. I'm already done, because that's the future that's going to happen, right? So I would argue that even though you might be in a dark time, you're already through it because you're still here. And things suck, but the only option is getting through it. And I've been in a dark place before. I mean, many, many people have. The things that have kept me alive are my son and my friends. But at any moment, I could have been the reason that all that went south. And I got through it because there was no other option. And I didn't allow myself to take that route. And darkness sucks. But you're still here, and because you're still here, you're through it, You may not be totally through it, but this is part of through it. And it's a part of your journey, too. I hate the word journey, but it's true.
Yeah. That's the most important part, I think.
Yeah.
To understand it. Like, I could say everything in my life that I've ever gone through. I grew up without a father, if you knew this or not. My father took his life when I was very young. All those things, though, made me who I am today. It just took me a very long time to recognize this was the use of it. Like in the time, and it took me about 20 years to be like, oh, now it's starting to make sense why I went through that. Because of everything else that was happening and going on in my life.
God.
So it's just kind of like that to the person listening. It's like we said, it's cliche as fuck to say this, but like it is a part of your journey, as shitty as that word might be.
Yeah.
Like, but the truth is, and I talked to a guy at the expo the other day. I went to a fitness expo, and the guy told me, he's like, dude, I saw your stuff. I didn't kill myself because of what you said and blah, blah, blah. All this stuff that like, to me is like, wow, it's powerful. But the thing that I said to this kid that's so significant is like, if you could help even just one fucking person to go through, or to be able to go through what you've gone through, because you've already gone through it and you've developed from it, you went through the bullshit, you got to the other side, it's not as bad as it was, then that's the value of it. Like just because I have this platform that I'm able to speak to millions of people, and I'm grateful for that. But that doesn't mean that I'm any more special than the person listening who, if you have fucking 10 friends and you could talk to one guy who needs to be talked to, and you could change his entire life just from a fucking conversation. And that's the real value. Like, I'm talking to this guy at the expo, and he was telling me this, and I'm like, man, like the power in going through this kid talking about not ending his life is so significant. And like I said, even if it's helping like another human with just one single person, or not even necessarily in that same sense, like, someone has to be to that point where they were going to kill themselves and you're convincing them not to, but just showing someone like perseverance, man, there's so much power there. And I think like it's very easy to get caught up in the moment when it's darkest, to be like, man, this is never going to end. But it is going to end. And it's not going to end it's not going to end badly, man. Like it always feels that way.
Yeah.
And if you just keep going and you keep going, eventually you look back and you go, okay, now it starts to make sense.
Yeah. And it's like when you're sick physically, you're like, I can't even think of how it feels like to not have this flu.
Yeah.
And then you get better and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the same fucking thing, you know? But yeah, that's, wow. I didn't know that about your dad, and that's powerful about what that kid was telling you. Yeah. That's, it's funny too, because like when I talk about comedy being an escape, like I never really think about it like that. But then people start coming up to you and they say like, you got me through dark times. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess I'm your action movie for me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like just sitting fucking watching that shit.
Exactly. And that's a powerful thing. And that's the thing. I've done this for so many years now, like talking to people at expos, because I would go to these expos and, you know, I've talked about my childhood, my past, like I just said right here. Mm-hmm. And people would tell me these crazy, not crazy things, like normal things. But to me, I'm like, whoa, I just met you and you're saying how I saved you because of what I said. And I never once said something to think I'm going to save you.
Of course.
I just said it because it's my life. And there's so much power in that. And I can't make this any more understood. I really want you guys to understand it, is like, to that person who feels that, like, man, you got this, just take that and give it to someone else. Because that's all life's really about. At the end of the day, like, you're realizing the most important things in your life is like your son and your family and things that really matter, and your perspective on even how you make comedy has changed because of that. Because like the real things that actually matter is just that kind of stuff, like money and all this stuff. Like you said, making more money, how is it going to really change your life? Not by much. It's like, and at some point it doesn't mean anything. Like when you're gone, it doesn't mean anything. Only it's going to matter is like what you gave to your son, what you gave to your family, what you gave to your loved ones. So true. I'm not trying to get crazy deep, but like that's all life's truly about. So just understand, like, the moments that you have that are dark, they are necessities in your life to make you the person that you're supposed to become. And that's the most important thing to understand. Sorry, go to the next question.
No, it's good.
All right. So this next question is, I'm 23 and I recently started building my own business, and it's been taking up a lot of my time. I don't spend time with friends anymore, or my girlfriend is, and she's starting to feel neglected. And in all honesty, there's times where I just want to work more so than hang out with my friends and my girlfriend, because I'm not where I want to be financially yet. And I feel like I'm almost don't deserve to have the luxury of spending time with friends or girlfriends or family. How do I find a balance of working and having a life without feeling like I'm not doing enough in my business? Also, do you think having a girlfriend in the come up stages of your career is a good idea or bad?
I'm just going to go straight up and I'm going to say this. No, unless it's someone who completely like is aligned with you and understanding of where you want to go and where you're trying to go. And here's the deal too. I want to make this really clear. If you're 23 years old, you might not even know exactly where the fuck you're trying to go. So like, you're always going to, you might butt heads with someone no matter who they are, no matter how well they get with you or they're able to work with you on things, like, because you're still learning yourself overall. So I would say, not that you're not like saying fuck these people in your life, but you do have to focus on yourself, and you do need to like dive into that as much as possible, because like 23 years old, like, you're really learning who you are. When I'm just looking at myself, when I was 23 years old, I was going through a lot of shit in my life that I needed to go through independently. And if I had someone else in my life, and I had moments where I had people, but I noticed a lot of times it was easier for me to like look and focus on that circumstance. And then the stuff that I need to fix with myself, I wasn't fixing. I was covering with this circumstance or this relationship. And then eventually this broke because I never fixed this or I never changed this or I never focused on this. So I don't know, because everyone's so uniquely different in these situations, but you got to answer this yourself. If like you're constantly in this like tumultuous feeling with a person, like, you should probably just focus on your shit, you know?
Yeah. The one thing that struck me what he was saying is, I feel like I don't deserve to be doing anything else but my business. Don't say that, dude. Like, you deserve it. You just it may not be something that you are focused on right now, which is fine. Yeah. It's tough. What do you say, 23, 24? It's like you want to be successful in business. I get that. I was the same way. And it's really hard to manage that with a relationship, especially when you're coming up. I think the key is, for sure, finding somebody that meshes with you in that way and understands what you want and your goals, and you understand what they want and their goals. I think that's the key, because otherwise it's going to be, if you don't have something that matches on both fronts, business and relationship, either one of those, they're going to get weighed down.
It's a tug of war.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're going to pull each other down. And maybe this person is the person that you're supposed to be with, but you are young. And I think that right now you have to focus on your business. But as far as not deserving it, I don't think that that's the right choice of words. I maybe you didn't mean that, but that was the thing that struck me out of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, next
you
one. Yeah.
Another one?
Yeah, word choice is super fucking important, guys. Like, I'll just say this before we go on one more time. Mm-hmm. If you tell yourself every day like you're not worth something, then you're gonna get more of that in your life.
Right.
So go ahead.
So this one is a very long story. I'm gonna make it short.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna put their name because I don't know if they want me to, but they're 24 years old, and they just wanted to start by saying thank you for spreading so much hope, wisdom, and positivity to the listeners' lives. This podcast has gone to be my favorite one because you break down the idea that men cannot be emotional, suffer, and express their feelings openly without the fear of being judged. So I applaud you for that. So he goes, my story is long, but I'll keep it as short as possible. Originally from Europe, and he moved to the States. In the process of doing that, in early 2019, he lost his mother to suicide. And we fast forward to early 2021, he lost his younger brother because of like medical conditions. And then summer of 2021, he lost his younger brother to suicide.
Another younger brother.
Yes. So there's two younger brothers in the same year. And so everything has been different. He was only 12 years old and he took his own life. And there was no like symptoms or anything. And they say like, due to like, this is my story with all my childhood trauma growing up. And unfortunately, I feel stuck emotionally in a stage that hasn't improved much since my mother's passing. It feels like a movie and it isn't real. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on my situation and what your life experiences have taught you that could help me grow out of this emotional stage that I can't get out of. I know this email is really long and it probably won't make it onto the podcast, but wanted you to hear his story.
How old is he?
24.
Wow. That is fucking tough. So, okay. Damn. I mean, we kind of said a lot that's along the same lines in the previous question, but man, that's a tough really like thing to swallow there.
Yeah, I mean, you've been through a lot of fucking pain, and sometimes the only thing you can say to that is, I hear you, and I can imagine, I can only imagine how hard you've been suffering. And this is the worst time in your life, and it will probably be the worst time in your life. You will eventually have a chance to use this and come out the other side. And that's all up to you, buddy. You know, I mean, that's up to you. I really feel for you, man. I'm sorry to hear all that. I don't know you, obviously, but there's a lot of pain in this world, and you're experiencing some of it. But that doesn't mean you can't come out the other side. Yeah,
and I'll say some from my personal experience. Like, I've obviously haven't dealt with the same exact thing, but I dealt with the loss of a father very young, to suicide. He hung himself. And I will say, without a doubt that, this point in my life, everything that really fucked me up in my life is starting to make sense. So what Chris said, and I want to reiterate this, it is probably the darkest point in your life, like this realization of like where you're at, your family, what's happened to them. But if you can get through this, which you listening to this podcast or trying to figure these things out, like you searching for some sort of reason, even like shooting this email, right? And us answering this question, you're trying to figure out. And that's what's really powerful. And that's what really matters. And the point is like, not that this is going to make it any better right now, but if you get through this, you can get through anything. And that's the reality that you have to understand, that like you're here because you wrote this email, you're listening to this podcast, you're alive, right? It's very important to understand that is the biggest hope that you have. And then once you're through this, the biggest gift that you'll ever have is that you will probably never go through anything as difficult ever again. And it can make everything else in your life seem more simple. Like your goals, like overcoming adversity in the rest of your life, because at the age that you're at now, you're going to continue to go through those things. And it's like, to go through this now, it's the darkest blessing. And you just have to keep going. And like I said, you're not your brother, you're not your mother, you're here, you're alive, and you just got to keep going forward. And then at some point you're going to be able to look back and it'll make sense. So fuck.
Yeah, that one. No, the story's pretty long.
I thought it was gonna be me, but
that one fucked me up. Yeah, I cracked, man. That one fucked me up. But I mean it, man. Like, and to everyone listening, like that. The reality is, like, we're all guaranteed to go through tough times. We're all guaranteed to go through pain in our life. That is what life is. That is what the journey is. It is pain. Like, everything in our life, at some point, we're going to have that. Like, you're not going to have all the good shit you think you want, and the cars and the money and the clothes, all this bullshit, right? Without there being an equal opportunity for shitty stuff in your life. And you have to accept that. And that's one of the most important things to understand in life. Like, you're not just going to go, wow, everything's great, and then you die someday. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, everything's going to be great, and it's going to be fucked, and it's going to be great, and it's going to be fucked, and it's going to be terrible, and it's going to be good. And you have to be comfortable with that process. And yeah, man, that's it. I could say from my life experience, I've been in the darkest places, but I've also now I'm so fucking grateful to be alive. I'm so fucking grateful to be able to sit here and have a conversation with you, and being able to even say this to you, one person, if you can listen to this and it can help you, that's what matters. So that's it. Yeah. That's all I got to say. I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate you guys continuing to come back. And I appreciate you coming on here and talking and being vulnerable and sharing your process. And I think you're an amazing fucking comedian.
Oh, thanks, dude.
And you're clearly a fucking good dude.
Thanks.
And yeah, thank you for coming.
I'm really happy I did. You know, like I said, I looked at your stuff and I always thought you were a really interesting dude. And, you know, we kind of ran into each other before, but it's really cool to talk to you, dude. So thanks for having me, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And much fucking success, man. Hopefully, if you ever need me for anything, I can be there for you.
Perfect,
too.
man.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Cool.
Likewise.
So thank you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Post notifications, all that good shit. If you're on iTunes, drop a nice review. If you're on Spotify, I don't even know what the fuck goes on over there because I use iTunes. Sorry. I know there's probably a feud there.
Oh, you use iTunes?
Yeah, I use iTunes pretty much. But we're also on Spotify, which is dope. And then obviously YouTube. Drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe. And check out Chris.
On tour, chrisdelia.com for tickets. I'll be in your city at some point. So go check now and maybe I'll be there soon. Who knows? But yeah.
And do you do Patreon?
I do Patreon. Yeah, I have a Patreon for my podcast, which is patreon.com/chrisdelia. And then my podcast is also on YouTube. So just check it out. It's called Congratulations.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Appreciate all the love. We're out of here.
Fucking awesome. I love doing podcasts with people who really do podcasts.
Oh, really?
You crush that shit.
Oh, cool. Good.
So good.
What do you mean, like, versus people?
So some people, I mean, obviously, I had Ronnie Coleman on here. I don't think he really is he's a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I know.
Legendary bodybuilder.
Yeah.
But I don't think he does podcasts all the time.
Right.
So other people who you do podcasts consistently. He's done it for a while.
Got it. So it's like a comfortability thing.
Yeah. Like Brian was on here, they're just It's the flow is seamless. You know.
Yeah, I guess it's so funny to me that it's even like an art, but I guess it is.
It is.
I mean, it's at some point you break it down, it's just a conversation, but to get to that is hard sometimes because you're not going to mesh with everybody. You interview people and there's a rhythm, then there's an energy, and you either have it or you don't. Sometimes you can pull it out of them if you're good, which you're good, but it's not always going to be that way. You know.
I appreciate you.
No, this was fun, bro. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.